What are the 5 top features of the ROG Phone 2? How does that relate to the competition? Should you go for this phone over some more mainstream phones? How does the gaming aspect affect the normal usage of the phone? Because let's be honest, most of the time, you're just going to be using this as a normal everyday phone and you won't want the gaming features. Well, the first top feature is the front-facing stereo speakers on this phone. As soon as I fired this up and I watched some videos and started playing games, those front-facing speakers are really, really incredible. Now, you have to pay a price for that. You have thicker bezels on the top and the bottom. But if you're using this phone to watch movies, play games, maybe you don't even have a TV and you just watch most of your stuff off a phone, the audio experience out of this is way, way better than any other phone that doesn't have front-facing stereo speakers. So the OnePlus 7 Pro, the Oppo Reno, of course the iPhone, and a couple of others do have stereo speakers, but they're not front-facing. They usually use the bottom one as more bassy and the top earpiece as a secondary speaker, give a bit more treble. But this thing just has 2 very good front-facing speakers. The sound is so much better. It really is a huge step above other phones that don't have this setup. I don't think people realize how much audio really does play a part in media consumption. It's not just the screen. The audio in this, I think, is one of the best features of the phone. You have to ask yourself the question whether you are okay putting up with these bezels. For example, the Oppo Reno also has a very similar size screen. Actually, they're both 6.6 inches there or thereabouts. But you can see the Oppo Reno's bezels are, well, virtually non-existent. It does have stereo speakers, but the bottom speaker is firing that way, and the top very small speaker, which you can't really even see, is an earpiece and a speaker. Actually, it's housed in the pop-up mechanism of the Oppo Reno. But in terms of audio quality, although the Oppo Reno is very, very good, it's just not going to compare to 2 front-facing stereo speakers. Okay, the second top feature in the phone is the battery. 6,000 milliamp hours with fast charging too. That is way bigger than the competition. The OnePlus 7 Pro has a 4,000 milliamp hour battery. The Oppo Reno, the K20 Pro, both have 4,000 milliamp hour batteries. The Black Shark 2 Pro, which has just been released in China, that also has a 4,000 milliamp hour battery. So this thing at 6,000 milliamp hours is going to give you way more battery life. Again, the downside of that is the size and the weight of the device. It's bigger and heavier than pretty much most other phones. The Oppo Reno is big and heavy compared to a lot of other phones, and this is even more so. If we compare it to the Redmi K20 and the K20 Pro have exactly the same design, it is a lot bigger. It's bigger, taller, and heavier and thicker. That's just the way it is. If you want a big battery and very good battery life, then there's just no other option than to have a bigger, thicker device. And that's really the theme of this phone. How much do you want specs, and how much design and weight and size are you willing to compromise on? Okay, the third top feature of this phone is just all the gaming features. One of the best, I think, are these air triggers on the top of the phone, built into the device. A really cool design on the top. I mean, you don't even know they're there. And you can link them up if you are playing games. With a few games, definitely PUBG and things like that. Anything that requires you to basically press a button for a trigger, either if you're aiming or if you're firing. It's really, really simple and easy to set them up. When you're in a game, you literally just go through to the settings, drag the little icon, and you're done. So look, this is a gaming phone, and if you want it for gaming, you want features like that. None of the more mainstream phones are going to give you that. You're going to have to buy peripherals. It's a really unique feature. It's a really, really awesome feature too. Playing games with it, just tapping the top of the phone is really great. All right, the fourth best feature of the phone, the camera. I tested this camera against the K20 Pro, just a little versus between them. And I was actually really shocked at the quality out of this gaming phone. The stabilization in video I thought was actually superior to the K20 Pro. It was really, really smooth. There were less jitters. I was also really impressed with just the quality of the images out of the device. If you want to have a look at that comparison, go and watch that video. In terms of colors and the way that photos and videos look out of the device, it's going to be very subjective. You might like it, you might not, but I was surprised considering this thing is not a camera phone, it's marketed as a gaming phone. I was surprised that actually you got an ultra wide camera and a main sensor. That's the Sony IMX586, which is used in, pretty much all the flagship Chinese phones this year. I was surprised that actually compared to pretty much all the other flagships, it held up really, really well. All right, the fifth and final feature of this phone that is going to really split opinion, and I think this is the main thing you have to ask yourself when looking at this phone is, can you put up with the design? The thing about gaming phones is they are big and they are different. And of course they're designed with gamers in mind, that's that sort of branding, but do you really want to show that off every time you use your phone? And can you live with it as a normal everyday phone? They have a cooling system in here, which is why it is also a little bit thicker. You have the stereo speakers, which means you have big bezels. It's a thick phone because of the big battery. You might say that's an awesome design, I really like it, but it's supposed to be an everyday phone most of the time. And compared to, for example, these other flagships, the P30 Pro, the Oppo Reno, the K20 Pro, it's bigger, it looks different. So really, do you want to compromise on the size and the weight of the device to get those extra features which you won't be using all the time? It really is a powerful device. It is great to use. It's great to consume media on. It's going to give you one of the best experiences of any phone, really. But it's your decision. Can you compromise and take the bigger, heavier phone?